Well, if you thought the gas prices and grocery store prices that you paid over the last year were bad, well, you haven't seen anything as of yet. In fact, the Biden administration is now promising that prices of your goods and prices of gasoline are going to indeed skyrocket. You see, over the past year, the Biden administration has been all about implementing destructive economic policies here in the U.S. His COVID-19 policies, which shut down businesses, forced people to vaccinate against their will, causing many people to leave their jobs because of these mandates. Well, these kind of practices cause massive disturbances in our economy and completely obliterated our economic system, causing a supply chain crisis, causing a worker shortage, and causing massive inflation on our food and on our gas and on everyday products that we buy. Well, now the Biden administration has opened the door, if you will, to a war between Ukraine and Russia. And yet again, we are going to see massive inflation and skyrocketing prices of our food and our gas and many other products. In fact, I believe we could see some major catastrophic level prices. Here's what I'm talking about here. Take a look at this BBC.com article, Ukraine War Catastrophic for Global Food. And this isn't my assessment, by the way, when I said we're going to see catastrophic food prices. These are words by people in the agricultural field, as you're going to see in this article here. And here's what it says. The war in Ukraine and Biden's destructive policies here in the U.S. will deliver a shock to the global supply and cost of food. The boss of one of the world's biggest fertilizer companies has said. Yara International, which operates in more than 60 countries, buys a considerable amounts of essential raw materials from Russia. Fertilizer prices were already high due to soaring wholesale gas prices. Yara's boss has also warned the situation could get even tougher. Now they go on to state, we were already in a difficult situation before the war, aka COVID. And now it's additional disruption to the supply chains. And we're getting close to the most important part of the season for the Northern Hemisphere, where a lot of fertilizer needs to move on, and that will quite likely be impacted. Russia and Ukraine are some of the biggest producers in agricultural and food globally. Russia also produces enormous amounts of nutrients like potash and phosphate, key ingredients in fertilizers which enable plants and crops to grow. Half of the world's population gets food as a result of fertilizers. And if that's removed from the field for some crops, the yield will drop by 50%, Mr. Holsether said. For me, it's not whether we're moving into a global food crisis, it's how long that crisis will be. And that's kind of how I see it. How long are these massive food prices going to continue to rise? And how long is this crisis going to go on? Because we are in a crisis. But the article goes on to state, the Yara International chief executive describes the war as a catastrophe on top of a catastrophe, COVID on top of war, if you will, highlighting just how vulnerable to shocks the global food supply chain is now. It will increase food insecurity in poorer countries, he adds. We have to keep in mind that in the last 2 years, there's been an increase of 100 million more people that go to bed hungry. So for this to come on top of that, it really is worrying. And those are the words of the Fertilizer International chief there. And he's really out there warning, saying, look, we've had a crisis on top of a crisis, a catastrophe on top of a catastrophe, and this could cause some serious repercussions to our food supply. And I do believe this is absolutely coming. It's obviously going to hit the U.S. The Biden administration has even admitted it. But here's some more articles on that I wanted to show you. ChicagoSunTimes.com, Russia's Ukraine invasion, a threat to world's breadbasket. Some prices are already surging. Here's some of the things regarding the U.S. even. Russia's invasion of Ukraine will likely ratchet American food prices even higher. That's according to experts. Then we have Time.com. Shoppers scramble level for staples as the food fallout from the war in Ukraine spreads around the world. And here's an example of how that spread specifically in the U.S. The war has already driven wheat prices 70% higher in Chicago this year, and it is threatening to upend global food trade. Russia and Ukraine are vital suppliers of grain, our vegetable oil, and of course, our fertilizers that I talked about, which means that supply disruptions will be felt all over the world. Wheat prices have surpassed levels last seen during the 2008 global food crisis, which helped spark widespread protests and a UN index of food prices to hit a record in February. Now, we also have food banks that are hurting here in the U.S. They're not getting enough food. This is on wishtv.com. Inflation strains Indianapolis Food Bank. We also have one here. Inflation hits Manatee County Food Bank very hard. So these are some of the things that are absolutely being felt here in the United States of America. Prices are climbing. And you know what? The question that we need to start asking is, how high are prices going to go for, say, our food here in the United States of America? Well, I found an article on that, and it's on desertnews.com, and it says, will grocery store prices rise in 2020? And of course they will. But here's some of the predictions that they make, and I'm going to be honest with you, I think they're a little bit more higher than what they're quoting here. But here's what they say. Grocery store prices, at home food costs is expected about 2 to 3% rise. Away from home, we're talking about restaurants and stuff, 4 to 5%. Seafood up to 4.5%. Dairy 3.5%. Fats and oils, you could see 4%, 3% for fruits and vegetables, 3.5%, cereal, bakery, these kinds of stuff. All of these things are absolutely going up. But I think it's definitely going to be on the higher end of those quotes there. But I believe if the war continues to drag on, then those could go up. Now, we also know that gasoline is also hitting, the price of gasoline, the price of our energy is hitting our pocketbooks. Here's what the Biden administration alone managed to do within 1 year. This is a CBS News article, and it says the hit to your pocketbook from higher gasoline prices cost you $2,000 more a year. So thank you, Biden administration, directly. That had nothing to do with the war. Over the past year, you paid out of your pocket on average $2,000 more for gas, which the Biden administration is doing on purpose. And that's my full attention, because they're going straight green policies. But now, on top of what the Biden administration has done, now Biden has just announced a ban on U.S. imports of Russian oil. And of course, this is going to make things, our gas prices explode here in the U.S. and our food prices. And here it is, foxbusiness.com. Biden announces ban on U.S. imports of Russian oil, warns that gas prices will go up further. And if gas prices go up further, by the way, so will our food, because gas is used by the trucking industry, by the airlines. We all use gas to get places. So this is going to cause products, pretty much every product under the sun, to go up. And here's a chart that I wanted to throw in there that shows the gas prices going up before Russia invaded Ukraine. And then you can see after the invasion, it's skyrocketing there all the more. And now on top of that, the next question that we need to ask is, how high is gasoline or oil and all that going to get? Well, let's just go to this article here. This is on the NewYorkPost.com. Russia warns of $300 oil if U.S. and Europe proceed with import ban. Now, we obviously went forward with that ban. And if Russia goes forward with this $300 oil, then this could absolutely, I could say, possibly double what we're seeing now at the gas pump. And God forbid something like that happens. Anyhow, I wanted to give you all this information, keep you up to date on what's going on. As a quick reminder, please don't forget to check out my partner at noblegoldinvestments.com. If you haven't converted your 401k, look, now is the time to do it. Our money here in the United States of America is literally going to crap. We have the dollar one day, I believe, will be used as toilet paper, as past money has. So make sure you're diversified and have money in other areas like gold, silver, and precious metals. By the way, I wanted to show this bigger here, but this is a 3-ounce silver coin they are giving away with any approved IRA or 401k. But give them a call today and take advantage of that, and let them know you heard it on Lisa Haven. Anyhow, thanks again for tuning in. I love all of you guys. I'm Lisa Haven, signing out.